What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on Get Up, they're going to be talking about how DeAndre Hopkins has been traded from the Houston Texans to the Arizona Cardinals. So let's see what they have to say about that.
Let's get into this. The Texans traded that guy, DeAndre Hopkins, to the Cardinals for David Johnson and a second-round pick. So that happened early in the day. Then much later in the day, the Vikings traded their wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, to the Bills for multiple draft choices, including a first-round pick. All of that is according to our Adam Schefter. But the key here is the first-round pick in a season where there are a ton of really good wide receivers coming out in the draft. With Minnesota...
Look at that. The Houston Texans didn't even get one first-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. At the very least, you have to get at least 2 first-round picks for DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best wide receivers in the league, so this just doesn't really make sense.
Getting the Bills' first-round pick. They will now have 2 number ones this year, 22 and 25 overall. The Texans have 0 first-round picks and will not pick until the 40th spot in the second round. So I've been waiting all morning long to say, Marcus Spears, what do you make of the Houston Texans trading away DeAndre Hopkins at this stage of his career and their team and not getting a first-round pick in return?
I just want to shake my head for the rest of this segment, G. I have, like, Dan and I have sat in the green room and we've talked. I don't know what Bill O'Brien is doing. I have no idea what the thought process is behind trading away a top receiver in his prime and a top quarterback is back there taking snaps from your center. I have no earthly idea what Bill O'Brien is thinking in this situation. And then to get Johnson, like, what are we seeing? Didn't you just say the Vikings got a first-round pick for Stephon Diggs? Now, here's the deal. There has to be some personal things going on between D-Hop and Bill O'Brien for them to make this trade, and for Bob McNair to sit back as the owner of that franchise and allow Bill O'Brien to make this trade blows my mind. I reached out to a couple of Texans fans and people around that organization yesterday. They feel like they're being played. They feel like they're being toyed with by D-Hop being traded, especially when we've seen his ability on the field and how these guys, this was a playoff team with D-Hop. This was a playmaker. This is a guy that's going to go and make Kyler Murray a lot better. He's going to be there with Fitz and Christian Kirk. I have no idea, G. I have no answers. I know our job as analysts is to have answers. I don't have one damn answer for Bill O'Brien outside of the fact that he must be holding something over somebody's very important head in the Houston Texans organization.
Go ahead.
So I definitely agree with that. There must be something going on behind closed doors for them to get rid of DeAndre Hopkins, because I don't see where he would be a problem. And even if he was a problem, he's the type of guy that you definitely rise your tolerance level with, because he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. And like I said, it just doesn't make any type of sense. So let's take a quick look at DeAndre Hopkins' stats and his numbers. So DeAndre Hopkins is 6'1", 212 pounds. So his stats for last year, he had 104 receptions, 3rd overall for wide receivers. He had 1,165 yards, 11th overall for wide receivers. He averaged 11.2 yards a catch, and he had 7 touchdowns, 16th overall for wide receivers, and he's the 11th overall ranked wide receiver. So this guy is definitely a guy you do not want to get rid of. And one of the best stats of all is 2 years ago, he didn't drop one ball. He didn't drop one ball. And these guys are thinking about getting rid of him. I don't care what happens. If you don't drop a ball during the season, we're going to keep you. We're definitely going to keep you.
Dan.
I think the reality is this. Bill O'Brien has Bill Belichick power, but the Marvin Lewis resume. And I have no idea how. And I have no idea why. I mean, he's one of the 5 most power-yielding guys in the NFL, being the general manager and head coach of that football team. He's got Bill Belichick type of power, but his resume is similar to Marvin Lewis's. This is egregious on so many steps. First of all, you don't trade away DeAndre Hopkins. He's one of the rare players, not just receivers, players in the NFL. One of 4 guys that has been an all-pro 3 seasons in a row. You do not trade away those guys. Number 2, if you make that decision to trade them away, you get a first-round pick for them. I mean, you think about some receivers that have been traded for first-round picks. Brandon Cooks was traded for a first-round pick twice. Percy Harvin was traded for a first-round pick. And you mean to tell me that you moved on from one of the best players in the NFL with a young quarterback that you can't protect for a tailback? All respect to David Johnson, but a tailback and a second-round pick? Like, is a mind-boggling decision by Bill O'Brien to unjustifiably trade away that player and then not get a first-round pick for him. It is something that if I'm DeShaun Watson, I said this during the playoff game. Guys, they were up 24-0 against the Chiefs, and now they sit here without DeAndre Hopkins. If I'm DeShaun Watson, I'm knocking on that door and going, this is not working. You are trading me. I'm not re-signing a long-term deal here. I love the city of Houston, but I do not believe in the course of actions that we're taking as an organization, and you have to trade me.
Yeah, so I agree with that too. I mean, this really doesn't make any type of sense. So let's take a quick look at more stats for DeAndre Hopkins over his career. So he's a 4-time Pro Bowler, 2015, 2017 through 2019. He's a 3-time All-Pro. He's NFL receiving touchdown leader. I mean, this guy is absolutely all over the place. And again, one of the biggest stats is 2 years ago, he didn't drop one ball in a season. He didn't drop one ball in a season. It's not like, oh, maybe he was only targeted 2 or 3 times. No, the guy had the rock thrown his way a lot, and he didn't drop one ball. I mean, this is absolutely huge. And, you know, it kind of screws over DeShaun Watson because who's his weapon? What weapons does he have? Those guys were as good as duo as any duo in the NFL right now. For them to get rid of DeAndre Hopkins, that's an absolute bonehead move. I mean, the only thing that points to is it has to be something that's going on or went on behind closed doors, and they decided to get rid of him because his play doesn't, dictate getting rid of him. I mean, he gets along with other, teammates, so it's not like he's a problem there. So the only thing I can realize, or the only thing I think of is something behind closed doors with management. I don't know. Let's continue.
Swagger, final word.
I'm with it. Greeny, my man D.O., we don't agree a lot, but we agree on this one. I don't know what the hell they doing in Houston, man. Like, I have no stake in the game with the Houston Texans, and I was pissed off when this came across the wire. And oh, by the way, and to Dan's point, Dan mentioned David Johnson coming over. You know who else? They got 2 tailbacks that they went and traded for. They got Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson. Listen, I'm out on Bill O'Brien. Dan already knows my history with the whole thought.
Yeah, so it's a bad thing, but let me say something before this video ends. So like I said, DeShaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins were as good as duo as there can be in the league last year. And at one point, people were talking about those guys are strong Super Bowl contenders because I think they were the first team to beat the New England Patriots last year. And when New England Patriots had like one of the longest winning streaks, but that got shut down by DeShaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. So, I mean, these guys are absolute ballers. They're a duo set up for the future that all they had to do is build around them. So getting rid of DeAndre Hopkins is an absolutely bad move. Absolute bad move. It's to the point that somebody should lose their job because of that. So, I don't know. Let's continue.
Process behind Bill O'Brien and what he's been doing. I'm out on him. I'm out. You don't trade D-Hop, and you don't trade D-Hop away from a franchise quarterback that has the potential to be one of the best all time in this league. Man, get the hell out of here, man. Let's go to something else.
We're going to stay with this for just a moment because I'm being told that I'm going to have some news in a minute that we will bring along. So I'm going to stay with this live for a second. Dan, let's pick up a different thought here if we can. Let's just very briefly talk about what this might mean in Arizona because you used a first-round pick last year, the number 1 overall pick last year on Kyler Murray. He started showing a lot of signs last year, and now you bring him a guy who I think you could defend the argument is as good as any receiver in the NFL.
Kyler Murray last year and some of the things he did really well. One, he was outstanding throwing the deep ball. Well, DeAndre Hopkins is an outstanding deep ball receiver. One of the reasons why, he's got great competitive catch, and he can go high point of football. It doesn't have blazing speed, but doesn't need it because he's got the competitive catch. Number 2, Kyler Murray throwing outside of the pocket was really good last year and did it a lot. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best outside of the pocket, scramble type of receivers in the NFL. So you're looking at a team that wants to deploy 4 wide receivers in Arizona. Well, now you've got Larry Fitzgerald and Andy Isabella and Christian Kirk. And now you've got that central